Okay, good morning, everyone. For those of you who haven't met, my name is Matt Cheevers. I will be hosting this. I'm not quite sure how I got to host this. I think I was the only person in the office that day when it came up. But I shall do my best to keep you entertained over the next couple of hours. So thank you, first of all, for those of you that are joining us live. Some of you I know will be looking at the recording of this afterwards. But thank you for coming and joining us for Wenta's 40th birthday celebration. As you can probably tell, I wasn't born when Wenta started, clearly. Why is someone smiling? There's a couple of people
Good escape,
smiling.
mate. Good escape.
It's not a good start, is it really? So we're here to celebrate 40 years at Wenta. So Wenta has been doing some fantastic work, as some of you will know, over the last 40 years in helping and supporting startup businesses to understand exactly what their market is, and to be able to start their business, promote their business, and hopefully have a successful time as a self-employed individual. Today's webinar is going to focus on the startup process. So we have one this afternoon that is looking at companies that are already trading and looking at companies just need some support to be able to grow. So today's session will be focused on 40 tips to try and help you on your way to start up your either first or second business, depending on where you are. I'm going to try and make it, or hopefully we'll make this a kind of interactive session. So if you have any questions at any point during the next couple of hours, please either raise your hand and I will try and answer those questions. If you are a little bit less prone to be putting yourself out there and having your camera on, then please put a question in the chat and one of my fantastically beautiful assistants will alert me to that. Not you, burps, and we will try and kind of give you answers to your questions as we go along. So some of the tips will be presented by yours truly, and then we have a team of people here that are going to take some of that weight off of me to be able to talk you through each of the tips. So I will introduce those people. I will introduce these people as they come up, and I will introduce each tip and then invite the person who's going to be talking about it to probably talk about 90 seconds, a minute, maybe 2 minutes. So we try and keep it punchy and we move forward. So if you have got the chat option, then please put questions in the chat. If you would like to ask a question, then please put your hand up. If you have got your camera on, that's great. Makes it feel even better. But just put yourself on mute if you've got some background noise. That would be absolutely fantastic. You will get a recording of this session. So if any of you do suffer from insomnia, you get a recording. So if you're struggling to sleep at any point in the future, just play me for about 10-15 minutes and you will drop off rapidly. So that will be sent to you automatically. Before we start, I'm just going to introduce a little bit about Wenta. So I'm just going to share my screen and talk about a little bit about what we do. If you haven't come across us before, then hopefully this will help. And it will make it easier for you to understand what we do. And I'm just going to put, hopefully someone can just confirm that they can see my screen. That would be great.
Can't see nothing.
No, I can't see your screen.
Nothing yet? That's a good start, isn't it?
Told you, technology.
Technology.
That's better.
Yes. Yep.
Is that working okay?
Yeah, all good.
Yep.
I can see your full
Perfect.
screen.
Thank you very much. So just a little bit about Wenta before we start. For those of you that have not had dealings with us before, there's 2 or 3 key areas about what we do as a business. So first of all, we have 4 office spaces in and around Hertfordshire that we let out to small and medium-sized businesses. What that allows us to do as a registered not-for-profit social enterprise is to take the funds that we receive in from our the rent of our offices and plug that into a business advice service. That business advice service comes in 2 formats. First of all, we have webinars. So something a bit like what you're on now, where we will take a particular subject. We have a range of about 30 or 40 webinars that we support. And we will provide that service to either people in Hertfordshire, people up and down the UK, or occasionally people from overseas. So if you haven't looked at the webinars, please take a look at our website, and you will see a range of different subjects that will hopefully educate you on key areas of running your business. We also then have a team of business advisors. So our business advisors will work with people on a one-to-one basis, and that service can either be guiding them on some key issues to run their business, or it can be, and what seems to be more frequently, is that we operate as a kind of mentor service. So if people are struggling with a particular area, then they can get one of our business advisors to work with them on a regular basis, generally over Zoom or Teams. But if people are local, then we meet them face to face as well. We also have other services like virtual receptionists. So if you are looking at time being a major issue for you and your business, then we have the service where we can take posts, we can take contacts for you, and more details of that are available on our website. So if you have any questions throughout this, or you have any questions afterwards, then please feel free to reach out for us. The telephone number's on the screen there, and you will get a copy of this presentation. So the last and most important thing to tell you all, if you haven't had any contact with us in the past, is everything that we offer is free. So there is no catch, there's no hook, there's no sales process sitting behind what we do, which is a rare occurrence these days in the market, how we find it. So everything we do is free of charge, and you can tap into our services as much or as little as you need. A lot of our services we put on it in conjunction with some of our partners. So you will see on there, we've got 5 key partners who we're working with to try and push and promote this service. So we've got Get Enterprising, we've got our colleagues at Visit Hearts, we've got the Hertfordshire Local Enterprise Partnership, the Hertfordshire Growth Hub, and our friends over in St Albans from Stanta, who provide business advice and guidance and mentoring to any businesses in the St Albans area. I think I've remembered everyone on that slide, but anyway, if you haven't been mentioned, then thank you for your continued support. What I'm going to do now is launch into the top tips. So there are 40 top tips. That's not easy to say, by the way, and I'm going to be saying that many times today. But we'll start with the top tips and we'll run through them. And as I said, I will either myself will be talking through for a minute or so on each subject area, or one of my colleagues and one of our support organisations will be dropping in as well. So if you have any questions as we go along, then please just put your hand up or ask the question in chat, and either myself or one of my colleagues will pick that up for you. Any questions before we start? I can see a lot of chat stuff. I don't know whether that's people asking questions or just saying good morning.
They're good mornings at the minute.
Good mornings. That's probably as good as it will get, Karen. Thank you very much. Yeah. So our first top tip, number 40. Now you'll see them numbering down from 40 to 1. My initial idea with this is this was going to be like a hit parade. Using the term hit parade tells you a lot about my age as well. And my age come into the factor of we actually decided not to do a rundown in terms of a chart, because what I wanted to do was associate a song to every tip. But when I put the first 4 or 5 together, nobody in the office had ever heard of the songs that I'd chosen. So perhaps they thought it would be a bad idea if I put some of those song titles along there. So they ruined my fun a little bit. But so what we're going to do is just run down from 40 to 1. They're not in a particular order of importance, but hopefully you'll get a flavour for what we're trying to do and what we're trying to get across. So straight into top tip number 40, which is one of mine to present, and that is all about a 10-second pitch. You can read the information that's on the slide, but I'm just going to try and give you an overview of why I think having a 10-second pitch for your business is incredibly important. That is incredibly important to you to remain focused on what your business does and why your business is different from the competition, but importantly allows you to have conversations with other people, whether they are business partners, whether they are banks or people that are going to give you money. I firmly believe that you must be able to deliver what your business does in 10 seconds initially. And I draw the comparison, and some of you may have heard me saying this in our one-to-ones, excuse me. But I draw the comparison to, does anyone ever still go into a bookshop these days? Anyone go into Waterstones, other bookshops? No one does. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, one person, that's good. Yeah. So I was worried my analogy wouldn't work. If you go into a bookstore like Waterstones and you're going to buy a book, the first thing you do is probably wander into a section that is right for you. So for me, I like the crime stuff. Yeah. And when I pick a book off the shelf, what I'm looking for, first of all, is what does the cover look like? Yeah. Is it the sort of cover that's going to attract me? Because generally the books I like are a little bit dark. And then, in order for me to assess whether that book is going to be of interest to me, does anyone know what I do with the book?
Do you read the blurb?
Back.
Yes, exactly. The first thing I do is turn the book over, yeah, and I read the blurb, the synopsis on the back of the book. How long generally is that synopsis, do you reckon?
10 seconds.
Funny enough, about 10 seconds it takes you to read it. Yeah. So they're probably going to be one paragraph, maybe two paragraphs on the back of the book. And if I read that 10-second pitch on the back of that book, that synopsis, and I don't like it, what am I going to do?
Put it back down.
Put it back down. Yeah. The book's going to go back down, back on the shelf. I'm going to pick something different. What I don't do generally is sit there and read the first pages because I'm going to be patient because I've got a lot of choice. And this is why I'm saying if you should be able to, at the start of your business, be able to summarize to anyone that wants to know what your business is doing, how your business is going to do it, and why you are doing that business in a 10-second pitch. It's like the synopsis. If you don't get that right, you're going to lose the attention of customers. So top tip number 40, make sure you can deliver your business idea in a 10-second pitch. I need to stop saying top tip. Number 39, is know the problem. And for me, this is, again, one of the first things you need to be doing when you're thinking about starting your business. Every single business that exists is solving problems for customers. And if you can't be clear as potential new business owners what the problems you are solving for your customers, then you need to stop, think about that, and write down or type up as many problems that you think you are solving for that business. Because if you're not solving a problem, then it's likely that customers won't be interested in what you're doing. And sometimes, as we get to later in this presentation, you will see is that what we need to be able to do for our customers is not just in our mind be clear about the problem we're solving, but actually use that in some of our marketing and some of our advertising. Because if we've thought about it in the right way and we know the problems we're solving, then what we can give the customer are solutions. And for every single one of you on here who are starting off a business, in 5-10 minutes, if you called one of us and had a session with us, then we would help you to identify the problems that you are solving in your business. So be very clear on it. For some of you, you might be solving 7, 8, 9 different problems. For some of you, it might be solving 1 or 2 problems. But if you don't know the problem, you therefore won't be able to connect it to the solution, which is what you're doing. And you won't be able to attract people into your business because they won't see the worth of you. They won't see the value of you. So know the problem about your business, have it front of mind, have it written down, and you should be thinking about this every single day when you're existing as a small business owner and making sure that that problem is giving you focus in terms of what you're doing and you are not getting distracted, and working on other stuff, but you are focused on the problem. Tip number 38, and I always have to be quite delicate in terms of how I say this, but I'm just going to try and be as honest as possible. For those of you that have started a business, any of you, or if you're at the early stage, have any of you created a Facebook page for your business? If anyone could just stick in the chat or just talk to me, that would be even better.
I haven't.
You haven't? Yeah, but maybe it might be other things that you want to do. Yeah. So what I mean by trust the right voices is, as I say on the slide, if you're lucky enough to be surrounded by people who care for you, want you to do well, want you to be successful, then probably you're going to rely on those people to give you advice. And when it comes to a Facebook page, what often people do is they launch a Facebook page and they send it out to all their friends and family on Facebook, and they get 50, 60 likes on their page and follows on their page. And all of a sudden you've got 40, 50, 60 people that may like you, that feel as though you can tap into their advice on whether you think or they think it's a great business idea. The catch here is that these people hopefully like you. So if they see something in your business that is not right, or see opportunities that you're not tapping into, do you think these people are going to tell you straight? It's probably likely that they won't. It's probably likely that they'll just say, oh, that's wonderful what you're doing. It's amazing what you're doing. But if you want true business advice, then surround yourself with people that are going to tell you the truth, not just tell you what you want to hear. That can often be in a third party, so a company like Wenta or a company like Stanta or the Hearts Growth Hub, where actually when you come to us, we're not, we're going to be nice to you. Of course, some of us are going to be nice to you, yeah. But it's more important that actually we are independent about what you're doing, and we are independent from you. So actually, if we see something that we believe you're doing wrong, we can actually tell you, yeah, and in a nice way, try and get you to change your habits and to change your behavior. So just think about the people you have around you. Yeah, they're not bad people. They're trying to help you, but just think about, are they just actually providing more of a hindrance than a help by giving you advice and always saying that everything you're doing is wonderful? So think about that. Think about who you've got. Is there that one person, that one friend, that one family member that actually might just tell you the truth? And even though you may not want to hear it in the early stages, then it will actually help you to push forward and to be clear on what you want to do. Tip number 37. So this is called the Big Four documents. Yep. So some of you, and hopefully you will be successful, will be going in the future to look at one of two types of funding. The first of those types of funding may be a loan. So if you're going to a bank, your bank, or you're going to the British Business Bank or another alternative, then that's a good route to get some cash into your business early on, to invest in your business and to be able to push it forward. There are other routes into funding your business as well. And probably the most popular one of those is getting some form of grant. So if you are interested in getting funding from a bank or a grant from various authorities, various charities that provide grants for businesses, you will need 4 bits of information to be able to do that. And this is where I sound a little bit like, well, I sound more like, yeah, the boring police in this situation, where I'm saying, rather than just running straight away, yeah, what you need to think about is what documentation, what things will you need in order to be able to move forward and get that funding for your business. And there are 4 main documents that you will need. The first of those documents is a business plan. So if you haven't started thinking about a business plan so far, then I would urge you to start putting your ideas down on paper. We can provide advice on business plans and also templates for business plans. But if you're going for any sorts of funding, you will need a well-written and thought-out business plan that covers all the angles for your business and your idea. The second one is that they will likely make you fill in a very, very arduous application form. And if you're someone like me that tends to, when you're confronted by a form, just run in and start filling it out, I would advise you to do something different. And that is to truly understand what they're looking for, and for you to understand what their risks are. So whether that's a loan or whether that's grant, they will be looking at certain criteria, and you need to make sure that when you fill in their application form, you are meeting that criteria, especially if it's a grant. There will be conditions on grants. So you need to think about that and hit the sweet spot with your submission. If it's on a loan from a bank, then it's more likely going to be looking at what the risk is. Yeah. So what happens if you can't pay it back? So think about that application form. Don't go charging in, and take some time to understand what they're looking for. That's number 2. Number 3 gets even more boring here, folks. Number 3 is a profit and loss summary. So what they will be looking for, and generally if you're a startup company, they will be looking for 3 years of projected profit and loss. So this is where you have to go into generally an Excel spreadsheet and do the calculation for what you think will be coming into your business and what you think will be leaving your business. And you need to put figures in there that are believable and figures in there that are understandable, that tell a story about growth and tell a story about success. Again, if you need a template for any of that, then we have them and we can provide them and can help you to put together a 3-year profit and loss. The last of the 4 documents is probably aligned to my first tip about a 10-second pitch. So sometimes people put together business plans that may be 10, 15 pages long. And the person that's reviewing it maybe wants a little bit of a taster before they start reading 15 pages of information. So the 4th document, and a very important document, is something called the pitch deck. Yeah. So a pitch deck is generally a PowerPoint presentation. It can be done in other forms on PDFs. And this is a very, very top level summary of your business idea, the market you want to go into, and how you're going to make money. So it feels like there's a lot of work at the start of this process, and there's no other way to say it. But yes, if you want to do it properly, you have to put the brain power into it initially and make sure that you have really thought about your idea for your benefit, first of all. And then secondly, if you're going after any kind of funding, that you take that time to put together those documents, the 4 documents, so that you are ready. Especially with grants, sometimes they open and close in a very, very short period. So if you haven't done any of this work in advance, you may be up against the clock in terms of being able to submit your proposal in time. So for 3 of those 4 documents, we have templates we can help. So if you need that support, then please just pop it in the chat and we can send over those templates for you. Any questions so far before I hand over to another presenter to do the next session?
Nope.
No, so that either means I'm doing a fantastic job or people are bored already. We'll go with the first one. Yeah. Okay, tip number 36. I'm just going to give you the summary and I'm going to hand over to someone else. So you've got a bit of a change of voice. I can kick back, have a cup of coffee and watch someone else do it. I will introduce all of the different slides individually. So top tip 36 is segment your customers. Yeah, and I'm going to hand over to Steve here from Stanta. So Steve's had a background in many different businesses, has been a marketing and operations director in 2 FTSE companies. He's run a successful marketing and strategy consulting business, and he's also randomly published a children's book. So I will hand over to you, Steve, to talk about the segmentation of customers.
Right, thanks for that. I mean, hopefully everyone can hear me fine. I should be unmuted now. Start with an apology. A complete coincidence that I'm wearing a corporate jumper. It looks terribly cheesy, but it's not intended, I promise you on that one. Starting on segmentation of customers, sounds complex, actually isn't. I think what we need to think about before we start any business or launch any service or any product is ultimately who we're aiming at. And it's unlikely to be a homogenous group of individuals. It may well be that we've got a startup business that's aiming specifically at the general public, or alternatively, we might have a very upmarket professional service offering that's going to chief executives of organizations, perhaps of a certain size, perhaps in a certain location, perhaps in a certain sector. Now, clearly, those different business models require a different approach to how we promote ourselves, and in particular, how we reach out to those targets. So a couple of real life examples. An organization that I read about on the dear old BBC was a case study of a tech business that had managed its way up to over £1 billion turnover. And they asked the CEO how he got going. And bearing in mind this was a tech business, he said, "I wrote letters." Now, you would have thought a tech business might have jumped into the internet, might have used email marketing, may have used PPC. And he said, no, because my target market required me to get 5 customers in the first year, just 5. So I wanted to stand out. I didn't want to be part of the noise. So I wrote personal letters. I even used a pen on the outside of the letter and I addressed it to the chief executive of the organizations. And guess what? Everyone thought it was a personal letter. Nobody intercepted it. The gatekeepers, the secretaries, let it go through because they thought it might be from a family member. And as a result of that, he was able to start a conversation. And I think that makes the point. I mean, the point is that he thought about his target market and thought about the most effective way of reaching that market. Now, the second approach is if you're looking at reaching maybe a target audience of 500,000 in or around Hertfordshire or surrounding areas, you obviously can't write them all personal letters. So at that stage, what you've got to do is think about how you reach them and what the messaging is. And at that stage, you'll be using totally different tactics to what you would be doing if you were aiming at 5 or 6 big customers in your first year. So separating your customers out, knowing where they are, knowing what they buy, knowing what they look at, knowing where they spend their time is fundamental to your ability to be successful as a startup. So segmenting those customers, identifying, aligning your products or your services to them, and then thinking about the best way to reach them is some of the most important things that you could do as a startup business. Okay.
Thank you, Steve. Moving on to number 35, do a SWOT analysis.
Okay, so SWOT, I kind of love SWOT analysis and I kind of hate it as well. It's one of those very accessible business planning tools. And for those who have not come across it, it's quite simply the strengths of a business or a potential business, the weaknesses of it, the opportunities that the business may face, and the threats associated with it as well. It's often shown as 4 squares together, and people are often asked to fill in and list the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and threats within the organization. What it does give us is a very holistic view of where we are and what we're doing. For me, it's better used, oddly enough, actually, once you've been trading for a little while, because some of the times you only understand what the threats and the opportunities and the weaknesses and the strengths are after you've got a little bit of trading under your belt. But that said, it does give us the ability to look at what we're doing and how we're doing it. One of the reasons I dislike it is that even in some very large organizations that I've worked with, all the way down to some micro businesses, unfortunately, people can get preoccupied with doing the SWOT analysis and missing out the most important part. And the most important part of a SWOT analysis is the action plan to address the issues within it. Analysis is not action. And unfortunately, SWOT tends to lead people into analysis and avoid the action component. So if you are or have done a SWOT analysis, I would very much suggest you look at the action plan, review it regularly, set yourself clear objectives, and then it will have been worth the effort you put in at the outset.
Yeah, 100% agree, Steve. And I often get asked when we're setting SWOT analysis about, people go, well, how many shall I put in each box? And it's kind of always that's kind of missing the point. It needs to be an honest appraisal about where you are and where you think your business idea is, both from the business idea and you personally, and just try and be honest with yourself. And I certainly back up the fact that once you start trading, maybe 6 months into that, do another SWOT analysis to see how they compare, to see whether some of those things just weren't right, or there may be more new things that have occurred since you've moved your business. Thank you. Number 34, marketing, quality or quantity. Sorry.
Yeah, this is one of the things I really believe in, is that marketing has to be effective. We can spend lots of time to things that are not affected by just maybe jumping on bandwagons. And I think it's got harder for startups in particular, because the marketing profession in general has fractured into specializations. So if you bump into a PPC guy, they will tell you that PPC is the way forward. If you bump into an SEO person, they'll tell you SEO is everything. If you bump into a direct marketing individual, they'll say, no, you've got to get back on the phone again. You've got to do bulk emails. And the reality is, what you need to do is have some advice early on, and people like Wenta and Stanta can give you that advice and say, okay, well, let's step back from that. All of these tools are useful, but let's go back to that segment session that we just ran earlier. Who are we aiming at, and where are they spending their time? And if you are aiming at the 100,000, you need different tools to whether you're aiming at the 5 to 7 key targets across the year. And there are all sorts of things that we can do around it to be effective, and that is to be quite clear about what's likely to be more effective at the outset. And do you know what? Often your gut instinct is correct. Chief executives are not hanging off your next post on social media. They are incredibly busy individuals. You can build background awareness through social media if you're aiming at that market. At the other end of the scale, if you're looking to reach 100,000, maybe 1 million people, it's very important that you reach out in a way where you've got a chance of reaching those individuals. And when you actually look at your organization, you begin to then think about, okay, if we are going to use an approach that aims at a target list of, say, 25 prospects for the year, of which we're going to convert 5 or 7, you then actually go down a route that is intensive, it is perhaps creative, it is sustained, it is across the year, and you've got a much better chance of being successful with it. The other thing I would say is that marketing has been dumbed down a little bit. There's a lot of emphasis on measurement at the moment within marketing. So email marketing, it will tell us who opened the emails at what time of the day, what technology they were using, how many people they shared it with, and that's fine. And it's a perfectly acceptable channel, but it's very easy to come back to a conclusion that it's effective. Your open rates for cold lead generation may be down at 5%. Well, that also tells me is it's 95% ineffective at reaching your target market base. So just because something is measurable doesn't always make it great. And then my final little bit of advice is that marketing is a creative process. If your creative looks uninspiring, if it doesn't inspire or generate some kind of emotional response from your target market, it's unlikely to achieve the objectives you're looking for. So never underestimate the importance of creativity.
Excellent, thank you. Excuse me. And number 33, the weird and wonderful world of customer behavior, Steve.
Yeah, so customers, anyone who's worked in a client or customer-facing business will know that customers can drive you up the wall. They can behave irrationally. They can have unreasonable demands, but ultimately, without them, there is no business. So we've got to look at customer behavior, and in particular, we've got to go back to that segmentation, because again, customers will have different expectations of a product or a service depending on their own lifestyle and their own expectations. One thing that it is worth spending a little bit of time on, I think, is that whilst customers have expectations, most organizations fail to meet those expectations. We all know it from our personal life. You know, the utility company who sends you bills that are not based on reality, but then when you've overpaid, they never give you the money back. It might be something simple like perhaps a taxi driver who's accepted your booking, and then 2 minutes before you're due to be picked up, they cancel it because they've got one that's going further away. So we're let down quite regularly. Where there's an opportunity is that if you can outperform the competition in relation to customer expectation, you can create competitive advantage. And that's the kind of nirvana that lots of businesses are looking for, is going somewhere and actually gaining competitive advantage. And in most instances, there will be other versions of your business as a startup who will all be doing it. But if you can reinvent it slightly so it enhances the customer expectation and you deliver better than the others do, then you can generate genuine competitive advantage. So whilst customers can be frustrating, it's also giving us an opportunity to actually take our business to a new level. And we'll pick up on it later, but obviously with customer feedback in the early stages of your new business, obtaining that is gold dust. Because even if the feedback you get is negative, that is an agenda for change. And if you don't get it, you can spend a lot of time doing things for people that they don't want.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your contribution. We'll move forward now. Top tip 32, measure everything. Now, for this one, I'm going to hand over to my colleague at Wenta. I'm going to read his bio just to make him sound really, really important. You know, So Books has 30 years experience in running his own business, mainly in the travel industry. So very insightful in that sector. His expertise looking at websites, social media, and technology. So hopefully Books will give us some insight over the next 4 or 5 tips. If you are ready, Books.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, I've got a colleague here, needs to turn his mic off.
Amateurs.
Yeah, good. Leandro, what can I say? Thank you very much, everyone. My name is Boops, one of the advisors here. Thank you very much, Matt, for that intro. So top tip 32, measure everything. Hopefully, once you've set up your business and you start receiving sales, obviously, you've got to be doing some marketing for this, and you start receiving some sales. You need to understand where those sales are coming from. You might do a little bit of marketing on social media, Facebook, Instagram, maybe some leaflet drops, papers, magazines. Wherever you put your ads out for your business, you need to understand where they're coming back from as well, the sales. Ask your customers, or hey, if you've got a website, maybe there's a drop-down menu on there to say, where did you hear of us? You know, have that initiative on there because you want to know what's going to work for you, where the money is being spent, because if there's something that you're advertising and there's, you know, no sales coming through that, stop it. You're wasting money on that at the end of the day. So track your sales, make sure that you understand where everything comes from. Facebook, social medias, all of them have, you know, the back ends like Meta Business Suite and so on. Check in there where your sales are coming from, the likes you're getting, the demographics, all of those things matter, because when you're actually spending your hard-earned cash from sales that you're getting and reinvesting into the business, you need to know where to put that money again so that you get a larger flow of profitability coming through and sales coming through again on that side. Just avoid you wasting any money at all. There's always going to be new places that you're going to try. Certainly try them, but carry on measuring as much as possible as you go through.
Thank you, Boops. Top tip 31, research your market.
Right. So I say this to everyone that comes and has a meeting with me, basically, before you spend a penny on the business at the end of the day, you've had that light bulb moment when you jump out of bed and say, well, there's nothing like this on the market. I'm going to introduce it. I'm going to create it, buy this product, create this product, whatever you want to do. First of all, research the market. See why there isn't this product on the market. Why haven't any of the big boys or anyone else actually created this? Find they may have missed a point or something like that, but research it. Research where you would sit on the market. Is there anybody out there who does anything similar to you? If they do, how much are they selling it for? What's the profit margins if you were to produce the product? How much is it costing you? Okay. All of these things you need to research, and it's most important. I've known lots of people to basically go out and basically create something, buy something, and they've not done a basic research or basically price, how much they're going to sell it for, how much it's going to cost them to basically create that product, and obviously the delivery options. A lot of people forget about all of this. So make sure you research all of your market on how you're going to competitively basically market your product out there, get it delivered so that people can buy it for you. And obviously, overall, make some money. And obviously, guys, for this, business plans, cash flows, really important for this.
Yeah, 100% agree, Boops. And I think, you know, just going back to the sort of 4 big documents that we talked about before. So how important it is to have a business plan and how important it is to have extensive research in your business plan, because especially if you're going for any kind of financing, what they're going to want to know is, are you walking into this business idea with your eyes wide open? Have you looked at the risks? Have you looked at the opportunities there? So that it just gives them that comfort that you are the right sort of person to invest in. So thank you, Boops. Number 30, Canva is your best friend.
It certainly is. Guys, if you've not heard of this platform, get on it. It's canva.com. Head yourself down there. They've got a free account, so sign up to it quite easily, either Google account or basically your email. They do have a premium platform. What is Canva? So Canva is basically, it's a templated platform. It has all your sort of templates. So when you're using social media, you're using websites and you're popping all your images up on there, this can be your best friend. It can actually make you stand out against your competitors. It makes your images look really, really good. So for example, if you wanted a Facebook post, there's a template already made up for Facebook posts. Okay, it'll have the correct size, all of that. You can upload your own images on there. And the ideal thing is to basically obviously get yourself a logo created, which you can again do on Canva as well. Get your sort of business name as well uploaded on there, and then attach it to any posts. Basically overlay it onto a post, basically, which will make you stand out from your competition. Instead of just posting any images, you can do this for Canva, to all of the, for Facebook, for Instagram. A lot of, you can even make slideshows on Canva as well, and you can actually go as far as making a website on there as well. It's really, really good. You can connect it to basically all your social media platforms, and you can actually schedule them out as well. They're in the trial process, so I've not used that bit at the present moment, but you can actually straight away, as you create your posts on Canva, you can actually schedule it to post on Instagram and Facebook instead of having to download it as well. They've also got quite a few new products now, which the Magic Eraser, where you can erase things off any images and things like that. So you can tweak a lot of these images, but remember, they're there for you. They're really, really good. And obviously, we've got links on our savings tab as well. So do have a look at that on our Wenta website for Canva. And it's easy sign up. It's free of charge. We've also got a short intro that I've done on our YouTube channel. So if you get any chance, it's a 30-minute intro. Have a look at it. It'll be ideal for your business to use.
Yeah, it'd be great if someone from Wenta could just drop that link in the chat so that you can
Yep.
access.
It's already done.
Oh, super. One step ahead, as always, Karen, as always. And I think just one thing to add to that, and Books was saying about the free platform of Canva, it's probably one of the few things that I actually do pay for in addition, so there's a more premium product there. Sometimes with these things, you kind of feel as though it's not worth the money, but if you do have a few pounds a month, I think it's advisable, I'm sure you'd agree, Books, to go to that next level of membership where you get some more functionality, you get more templates, you're able to store your brand colors, which can save you a huge amount of time when doing advertising. So yeah, if you haven't used it before, get on it. Like everything else, takes a bit of figuring out once you get on there, but if I can use it, then you can certainly use it. Thank you very much. Tip number 29, wireframes. Books, tell us about wireframes.
Wireframes. So yes, wireframes have been around for ages and ages. A lot of people may know it as basically either placeholders or structuring your website. Before you start, there's loads of templates, platforms out there, Wix, Squarespace, and WordPress, and so on. Have a play with them to your heart's content. See what you can do with your website and how to create it. But overall, start creating some wireframes. What are they? They basically are placeholders, identifying how you can create each and every page on your website and what it's going to be looking like. Structure these. A lot of people do dive in head first and just say, oh, I'll just use a template. I'll do this. That's great. Absolutely. Believe it or not, halfway through that website structure or creation, you will say, I don't like this, that shouldn't be there, and you're going to be moving things around. And what happens when you start moving things around, you don't know if you've duplicated yourself or if it's in the right page or not. So with wireframes, use it either offline or maybe on a pen, pad, or Excel spreadsheet or anything like that, away from the actual platform. Start creating these wireframes. They're placeholders telling you image will go here, a little bit of text about this will go here, all of that structure, making sure all of your sort of structure for your website, H1 headings, all of those kind of things are in line. And then once that's done, believe it or not, it'll be so easy to create your website because you know where everything's going to move and go. It just saves you a hell of a lot of time. I've seen lots of people halfway through a website and then they're saying, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then they have to start all over again or juggle things around. And after that, they're lost. And what happens? You've got to start all over again.
Great stuff. Thank you, Books. Tip number 28. This is perfect for Books because he's the only person in the office who never brings any chocolate or cakes in. Everyone else does, but Books. So I thought when I saw look after your pennies, he's very good at looking after your pennies, aren't you, Books?
I'm looking after your health here. Yeah, everyone just brings in chocolates and sweets. So I'm looking after your health here at the end of the day. But looking after the pennies. So if you've ever been onto our Wenta website, guys, what you can see there, we call it the Feel Good package. It's under the savings tab on wenta.co.uk. And my colleague Karen will probably drop a link in the chat box in a second. But I look after the actual Feel Good. So what it is, we've partnered up with lots of different businesses, small and large. To give you guys, anyone that's starting off a business or has established businesses and looking for services, anything from social media, website creation, marketing, banks, insurance services, technology, all of that. Basically, we've signed up with lots of guys out there. Partners such as Dell giving 20% off. They also have a Black Friday sale on at the moment, so you will actually get 20% off on some of the sales items as well. We have Tide, who are offering £50 to all our web clients, rental clients, basically when you open and fund an account. We have Toolkit websites who are offering up to £500 on bespoke websites and so on. Google Workspace offering 10% discounts as well. So there's loads and loads of offers out there. Some are just freebies that you can actually get you for yourself, or if you scour around the website, but we've brought them onto one page to give you an idea. So if you can't afford Google Workspace, you can certainly basically get OpenOffice with free software for your basically business. It has documents and spreadsheets and so on. So all of these things are there. Look out for these. I'm always adding partners on or looking for partners as well to come on that can help obviously all our clients and receive some discounts or anything that way. So have a look at these guys. It's on there. It's wenta.co.uk/savings.
Super. Thank you very much, Books. And last one for you coming up. Top tip 27, reviews and feedback.
Most important part of your business, getting the reviews and feedback. A lot of people do forget about this. They get carried away with their sales. They're happy that the money, they've sold a product, the money's coming in. Happy days. What do we need to look for? Nothing. If you get reviews is your silent salesman, the one that you don't pay any money to, you don't have to feed them. But what happens is if somebody's given recommendation or somebody's come across your website, and we all do it nowadays, you go onto a website, you basically look at the product, you like it, you look at the pricing. Yeah, really, their mind's really made up. But what you're going to look at is basically everyone's reviews and the feedback basically on the actual website about products and about the company itself as well. This is going to be basically make the customer, if they're sitting on the fence on deciding which way to go, do they buy something from you or they don't, the review section literally tips the scales over. You can see any of the large sort of, platforms, Amazon, eBay, these guys will reach out to you when you've bought a product to say, leave us a feedback. And this is what you should be doing. Take 5 minutes out of your time. If you've done any sales, if you don't have this on your websites or anywhere else, but basically social media has feedback reviews such as Facebook and so on. Use it. Send the client the link. Ask them to leave your review. If they're not on social media, ask them, send them a lovely email, find out how the product was and ask them for their feedback. You can actually put this feedback onto your website so that people can read it. This is, like I said, it's going to be, something that you all need to do. Is just spend 5 minutes on it. Believe me, you'll get a lot of recognition for this. And this is ideal for all businesses to do. Reviews and feedback, it's something that everyone has to do for their business.
Yeah, great, Books. And I think hopefully you'd agree that whereas maybe 5-10 years ago, it was a nice to have in terms of having reviews on your website, it's just a must have now. a must-have to be able to do it, because people get skeptical if they don't see anything from past customers. So thank you very much, Boops.
Thank you.
Top tip 26, establish your tone of voice. This will be presented to you by Carol Allen. So Carol is a former principal and has spent 25 years in further education, owning her own educational training academy and working with government and private contractors to deliver science-based courses. She has also owned 3 successful online businesses, and her expertise is in the area of online marketing, coaching, creating educational courses and presentations. So Carol, handing over to you. Can you talk about this, establishing the right tone of voice, please?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. And I hope you're all having a great morning so far. And yes, establishing your tone of voice. So this is really going to help you to stand out from your competitors. For those of you that are at the beginning of your journey, it's going to help you to build your brand. One of the main things that you really need to think about when you're trying to establish your tone of voice is to think about your ideal client. So think about that person, and think about that person as one individual rather than a group of people. Because when you can focus on that one ideal client, it's a lot easier to know how you want to come across and communicate with those clients. Think about, what do they need right now? What is it that they want? You know, what's the pain point? For some of them, it's going to be transformational, something, you know, that they're going to need that's going to completely change their lives. For others, it's going to be something a lot simpler than that. So the tone of the way you need to communicate needs to match whatever it is, you know, that particular ideal client needs at that particular time. So get to know them really well. This is one of the things that I always say on all my webinars. When you get to know your ideal clients really well, then you know exactly how to communicate with them effectively. You know, and another thing that I, you know, do endorse is when you are working from a place of your expertise, it's a lot easier to understand who your target audience is, especially if you're targeting, you know, a particular client who, you know, is, you're going after someone who is someone that is what you're actually doing, and that's what you've done in your previous businesses. You know, so it's really important to know who they are, what do they want. Get to understand as well, in regards to, you know, talking about establishing the tone of your voice. Who are those people? Where can you find them? What platforms can you find them on? You know, and think about the tone of voice on those platforms as well, because every platform that you will find your ideal client on will have a different tone of voice. So if you think about LinkedIn, LinkedIn is very formal. It's got a lot of business kind of people on there. And if you're working with B2B, then your approach is going to be one of formality, you know, in comparison to if you're thinking about, you know, your clients being on Facebook. Facebook's a lot more informal. It's, you know, you can be quite social, quite funny, quite humorous. You can be however you want to be on social, you know, Facebook. So you've just got to think about, how do you communicate with people on the different platforms and respect whatever the rules and the regs are on these different platforms in comparison to how you communicate to have impact with your ideal clients.
Super, thank you, Carol. Number 25, it's about sharing your story.
So this is one of the most powerful things that you can ever do. There's so many people out there right now that are very emotional about all sorts of things. You know, so sharing your story resonates with a lot of people. And it's one of the very, you know, most powerful marketing tools that you can use. I've seen so many people use it. I've done it myself. And it's a great way of how you can win new ideal clients, as well as reinforce your brand identity. You know, and it also helps you to generate sales as well, because when people can resonate with that piece of your story that, you know, is also they're going through a similar thing or they've experienced a similar thing, it helps, to be able to generate sales. And I'll explain how it does that, because it's important to take your ideal clients on a journey when you're telling your story. There's always got to be a beginning, a middle, and an end. So taking them on this journey, one of the things that is important to note is clients want to see that you've gone through the struggle as well. They want to see that, you've experienced a similar thing to what they're going through, and you understand where they're at. There's empathy, there's compassion, but you don't want to share the part of your story that's not relevant to them. Share the piece that because you know who your ideal clients are, because you know what they want. Share that piece that is going to have an impact on them. And, bring out the key elements, make sure that when you're sharing your story, you're also bringing in your emotions, you're being transparent, you're being honest, you're being vulnerable. Clients relate to that because we're all emotional beings. So, you just want to make sure that your story tells them that there is hope, that, there's something else, there's a light at the ending of that tunnel that they can get through, because you've walked that path, you've gone down the road, so you've got through, and if you've got through, then they can get through as well. So it's a very powerful marketing tool to use. And always, if you're selling something at the end, give a call to action. You can't assume that people know exactly what it is that you want them to do at the ending, but always give a call to action. There's a lot of people who write books, authors, people that sells programs, consulting programs, coaching programs. They're excellent at sharing stories and then giving a call to action at the end. It's something that, you've got to do in order to be able to guide the people, your ideal clients, at the end, so that they know exactly what they have to do.
Excellent, thank you. 24, create marketing templates.
So marketing templates, well-written marketing templates really helps to provide a step-by-step guide that's going to help your clients to achieve, well, it's going to help you and your clients as well to achieve the objectives that you're setting out. So, it's really important to think about how what you want to include in these templates, because templates are there really to help you to save the time, to set goals, to reach milestones. So it's really important to ensure that it matches that of what you want to achieve at the ending of the day. And think about your clients when you're writing up your templates. What is it that they want? What process do you want to take your business through in order to reach your potential ideal clients? And, another thing that I believe you should do is to ensure that your template that you write up for your business does cover every area of your marketing plan. That's going to help to, help you to go through the process with ease. And if you're not quite sure about whether your template is going to have the impact that it's going to have, then share it with someone that you can trust. When you share it with someone that you can trust, get them to help you to look at, is it effective? Is it efficient? Can you get the most out of this? Do you need to make adjustments on it? And test it. Test your templates to see if they work. And if it works, great, then that's good. If not, then you can always go back and make the adjustments.
Excellent. Yeah, and I just think to add to that, and what I hear from a lot of people I work with, and had this experience myself, once you start your business and you become busy, a lot of your marketing is not going to be happening at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Your marketing is going to be happening at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night, or 7 o'clock on a Friday night, where you've had a long day, you're tired, you need to continue your marketing. And this and so many other of the tips are basically trying to help you that you don't end up sitting down at that time of night with a blank sheet of paper and thinking to yourself, I've got to create something. I've got to do something from scratch. I've got to be creative. Things like this, where you kind of topped and bottom a template, for example, for something like Facebook, where therefore all you need to think about is the message. And it's quite easy to just add the message on because everything else is set and looking professional. So it really is kind of so important when you're dealing with, time is probably your biggest commodity for small business owners, which I think is the case for everyone. So yeah, fantastic. 23, one of my favorites. Do you need a tagline or a slogan?
I love taglines, and I love, I think taglines are very important in your business. And there's one point that I want to make here, because there's a lot of people that will name their business at the very beginning of when they start. They'll call it something, but it doesn't really resonate with who their target audience are or what they're trying to achieve. But then the moment you put that tagline on it, it changes the whole trajectory of that, whatever you're going to call your business. So I think the tagline, slogan, whatever you want to call it, is really, really important. I think you need to think about what you want to say. It's got to resonate with your ideal clients. One of the examples that I always use, there's a I don't know if I should say it. There's a company in Bedford. Can I say the name or not? I don't know.
Go for it.
It's called Bedford Budget Tires. And Bedford Budget Tires, it says what it does on the tin. And, they don't need to have a slogan with their particular domain that they've got, because it says what it does on the tin. But if you don't, if your title of whatever it is that you're going to call your business doesn't resonate, then do add the slogan. But your ideal client needs to understand what it is. It helps to build your brand identity, and it's going to speak directly, or should speak directly, to your ideal client's needs. You want your slogan to be memorable. I think that's really important, so that they don't forget it. One of the popular ones that I tend to use quite often is Tesco's. Every little helps. And when you think about Tesco, their slogan, it goes right across their brand identity, because when you go to Tesco's, for those of you who don't use Tesco's, I'll just quickly share that they sign you up to their club card thing that they've got going on. And that's a way of you building points on the club card, where then you can get points off and a reduced grocery bill when you get to the till. So, your slogan needs to go all the way through what your business is all about. It needs to match what you're going to be offering, your values and everything. And this is why it's important that it's memorable. But keep it short. Keep it simple. It must be positive and it must be upbeat. The other day I went on a test drive with someone in a BM, and BMW, their slogan is sheer driving pleasure. And I remember going in this car, and I sat in the back of the car while this person was doing the test drive, and I can say it was sheer driving pleasure. So you want your slogan to make sure that it does resonate with your potential ideal client. They can feel, what the slogan's all about, going through the process of getting to know your brand and your brand identity. So I think, yes, the slogan definitely is a great idea, I think.
Yeah. I have personal experience of this. I launched my first business about 12 years ago, spent weeks, if not months, coming up with a name for this business. Some of you may have heard this before. And the name I ended up coming up with was awful. And it sounded like a sort of 70s, 80s funk band. So I quickly had to put a tagline on it, a slogan on it, to actually make it make sense to people. Mm-hmm. The business I came up with was called Smooth Direction.
That sounds really silky.
I thought it was great, and then quickly realised it was absolute rubbish. So it kind of a slogan then helped me out to be able to understand exactly what it meant and what it was, rather than a dodgy band. Great stuff. 22, the 7 P's of marketing.
Right. So the 7 P's of marketing, and I absolutely love frameworks like this, because it's going to help you to market your product to the right people. It helps you to position what you're doing and thinking about where you want to go in your business. So I think having the 7 Ps and looking at that framework, it's going to help you to achieve a successful marketing campaign. You can run a campaign through email marketing. I've done many myself. You can do videos and more, and knowing exactly, how to use those 7 Ps and apply that to your business, I think is one of the most powerful things that you can do. And one of the things that I think is really important, because sometimes when clients come to us and they say, well, I've had my business for this long and that long, and we've not been getting very many clients, I don't know what's going wrong. I always like to go back to the Ps and have a look what's been out of alignment. Sometimes it's just a matter of doing a little tweak. Sometimes it's a matter of you going back to the drawing board and doing some market research in order to find out what's not working and why it's not working. But having the framework in place is going to help with your marketing campaigns. And if something is out of alignment, just go back to have a look and see what you could potentially think it may be. So that's one of the things that I will say about the 7 Ps. It's, use it as a framework and use it to ensure that it's going to get you to the place that you want to get to in your business, when you're running your campaigns. But if you do need to go back, do further research to find out what's not working, if it's the people, if it's the pricing, whatever it is, go back and check, do the readjustments, and then start again.
Excellent. And the last one from you, Carol, is 21, PR, generate your news.
Now, I had to think really long and hard about this one, Matt. Thanks for giving me this one.
That's my pleasure. I didn't want it either.
So one of the things that I was thinking when I was thinking about this was when you start in your business, you want to be as creative as possible. You want to stand out from your competition. As a new business, you're always looking at, how can I stand out? What can I do to be able to get the attention of my ideal clients? And, looking at trying to attract, your ideal client in a way. You can do this through looking at what story you're going to create. There's so many different stories that you can create that can easily attract the attention of, the local news media. I would always say that if there's something that you believe that makes you stand out, then get in touch with the local news media. I say local because they're always looking for local news. They are very picky with what they will pick to, do a story on, but you want to make sure it's something that captures their attention within the first 3 seconds, whatever that thing is. Look at the key elements of whatever it is that you want to highlight, and make sure it's got the wow factor that's going to make you stand out, so that you can, have some good news that you can share with this journalist. So there must always be a beginning, a middle, and a victorious end to whatever it is that you're going to do, that you can use as a marketing strategy to create, something that you can actually share and get yourself out there in the media.
Yeah, 100%. And PR is a great way to do that. And, we must remember that marketing didn't start when social media started. Yeah. Marketing's been going around for centuries and centuries, and much more old fashioned, lead generation like PR can really work well for your business if you have a story that is attached to it. Thank you very much, Carol. You can relax now. We're going to hand over to another presenter now. So this top tip, so we're halfway through. Let me just say one thing before we'll move on to the next one. We will be putting a poll live at the end of this workshop, which will allow you to give some feedback and to maybe mark off the ones and the particular tips that you found most useful. That will help us to know how we improve and change these things next time around. But also we might be able to offer you more free advice around those subjects if you so wish. The next presenter we have coming up, which is top tip number 20, get a mentor. I don't like this guy for a number of reasons, to be honest. Yeah. Number one, he's marginally funnier than me. Number two, he's considerably younger than me. And third, he's got a fantastic beard, which I have envy of every time I see it. So I've tried to stitch him up with some subjects that, you know, reflects those three things I don't like about him. But Leandro's got a background in business banking, having been a business manager previously, and he's worked in various other customer service related roles. So his areas of expertise are all around startup guidance and registering a business, and everything to do with the kind of banking and finance side. I think I've sold you well, Leandro. So tell us why you think it's important that we should get a mentor.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Matt. And if you ever want to add another tip on how to grow your beard, I'm here for you, so don't worry about that one. Good morning, everyone. On getting a mentor, obviously, when you're in business, it can be really lonely at times, especially when you're on top of a company or you're a sole trader. You might not have many people to bounce ideas back and forwards with. So it's worth having a chat with a business advisor, getting that mentoring support, so you can get different perspectives. The advisors have been there, they've done that, they've had their own businesses, so they can support you with just clearing, making a clear pathway. Sometimes, especially when you're starting up, you come across a lot of barriers. You're not sure how to surpass them because you haven't done it before. So you can have that ongoing support and tap into the knowledge provided. At Wenta, we provide one-to-one support where I'm sure my colleague will add a link on there on how you can book shortly. And Stanta also provides startup support in St Albans and surrounding areas. But it's definitely worth getting that mentoring guidance. And they can also signpost you to other support and services out there that you might not have been aware of. So it gives you that extra set of knowledge. Most people would also, when looking for a mentor, they tend to go and look for someone within their industry or something similar, because obviously they'll have that insight, they've been there, and they can provide that knowledge. But don't shy away from looking for an advisor from a different background, because they'll have a completely different set of skills, and it can just close that knowledge gap that you might have. So it gives you a much broader understanding of business, not just in your industry, but just as a whole. But yeah, that would be my my tip for get a mentor. Don't feel you have to do everything alone. There is guidance out there.
Well, thank you, Leandro. And I think, you know, one of the big things I'm sure my colleagues will back me up on is that a lot of early start businesses need that help of a mentor to also give them accountability, you know, in terms of making sure that things are moving forward and things are going in the right direction. So yeah, definitely good advice. And if only we knew some mentors that were available and free that could help you all out, eh? But I'm sure hopefully some of you will be making contact. Number 19, Leandro, get the right company structure.
Perfect. So I always connect this back to a tip that Matt mentioned earlier, which is your business plan. It gives you that structure and viability. You know exactly the direction the business is going on. So when you're working on, when you have your idea, identify exactly what your business is and what it will be doing, and it will help you decide on the best way of incorporating it. The most popular tends to be a sole trader or a limited company, but there's also other aspects and ways of incorporating. If you're a CIC, community interest company, you might register as a limited by guarantee, which has no shareholding. You might be a charity, you might just want to be a partnership if you're operating with someone else. But identify exactly what your business is and its goals, understand the liabilities involved, and decide then how you would want to incorporate it. As mentioned, normally it tends to be most people, especially when they're starting up, they are deciding between a sole trader or a limited company. We've got a webinar here at Wenta on how to set up your small business, which goes over the differences, the advantages and disadvantages of both, and the process of registering them. And we also have one specific on how you would register a CIC. So we'll get those links in the inbox shortly, so you can in the chat box, sorry, so you can have a look and get yourself booked on. And the other thing I would say is that you can also register as a sole trader. Some people think You can't have employees because you're just a sole trader, so it's just yourself, but you can, so that isn't necessarily a barrier. But you just have to understand that as a sole trader, you're not a separate entity, so the liability tends to fall out on you because the business is yourself. As a limited company, it's a legal structure, so it's slightly different. So book in to understand a bit more about how we can help you determine the best route for you. And finally, there are also ways where you can incorporate if you're not too sure and you just want to start off as a basic sole trader, so you don't have as much to do in terms of taxing and paperwork. You can still register as a limited company, keep yourself dormant, but at least you know that your company name can't be taken from Companies House. So in future, if you want to jump onto to be in a limited company for whatever reason, be it growth of the business, you want to start looking into dividends and so on, at least you know your business name can't be taken.
Super, excellent. Well, thank you, Leandro. Next one for you, Leandro. Keep your money separate. Number 18.
Perfect. So obviously, if your business has been incorporated as a legal entity, we can use limited company for the purpose of this example. You do legally need to have a business bank account. So you straight away, you need to have a separate account there. You can't operate from a personal. As a sole trader, you legally do not need to have a business bank account, but it's a bit of a gray area, speaking from experience from being in the banking industry, because it's actually against most banks' terms and conditions to do any business activity from a personal account, regardless if it's a sole trader or not. Ultimately, you'd be losing the money. So if their auditing systems would pick that up, they'll write to you to potentially close it. So if you're going to be operating from a personal account, then please do check with your bank that's okay. But I'd suggest looking at getting business bank account, keep your money separate for that purpose. And then also, and importantly, it'll be much easier for you to do your accounting. So all your incomings, outgoings will all be in one account. When you're doing your account reconciliation via either softwares, so bookkeeping softwares or your accountant, there won't be any mix-ups. You know everything that's business and what's not. And you can also have if you have card payment machines or you do sales online, can also all go into your business bank account, so there's no mix-ups. So that's quite an important one. Finally, I would also just mention with that, that from when you do your tax return, which tends to be done by January, it's recommended by HMRC that you keep things like receipts and invoices for at least 5 years.
Thank you, Leandro. And last but by no means least for you, top tip 17 is get some help with admin.
Perfect. So there's a lot of support out there. So you've got support in terms of virtual assistants nowadays, where you've pretty much got admin virtually, and it just gives you that helping hand when you're trying to concentrate on running your business and it's just growing that little bit too much. You don't have employees perhaps, so there's guidance there. If you're operating from home, you don't have a business address, I would urge you to look at virtual office packages, something we offer here at Wenta ourselves, and it just gives you that peace of mind that you've got a registered company with a professional business address. You don't have to put your home address anywhere, be it on Companies House, your website, or any marketing documentation. Your home address will be masked. You can use our professional addresses, and we also have packages which will include phone answering, so they'll answer your phones for you, pass on messages, also collect posts, for example. It just gives you that guidance with your basic admin, but allows you to concentrate on what's more important, which is increasing your profitability and just looking at business every day's operation. If you wanted to find out more about our virtual services, then do please reach out to us. I'll ask my colleagues to put our contact details in the chat box, but they start from just £13 plus VAT a month if you just want to register the address. So you have a professional address that you can put online.
Great stuff. Thank you, Leandro. Well done.
Thank you.
We're gonna move on now to Michael, the money man, who's going to take over his advice for the next few tips. So we're going to start off with tip number 16, which is about setting your values of your business, and then there are going to be some more tips around the finance and accountancy side of that.
Right, nice one. Thank you there, Matt. So my name is Michael. I'm one of the business advisors that work here at Wenta, and I'm going to talk a little bit about setting your values. So as the slide says, doesn't matter if you're a company, okay, if you're a sole trader, a partnership, okay, you need to make your clients, your customers aware of what your values are. What do you stand for, okay? Because depending on what you stand for, okay, that will determine your business operations to a certain extent, okay? So I'm not sure everyone see in the back there. Yeah, so that is sort of Wenta's sort of set of values. Inclusive support, making it easier and greener to start and run a successful business, okay? So everything that we do, the actions that we put into place, okay, we are trying to achieve that. So that is an internal sort of policy. So for example, making it easier and greener, okay? So all us business advisors, okay, or all staff members are trained in Action Zero, so net zero there, for example, okay? So you've got to think about what you want to achieve, okay? What guides yourself? What guides your business then, okay? So that could be, say, moral values, for example, honesty, respect, responsibility, and sort of compassion there, okay? That could be your sort of values, okay? People buy into the values of your business, okay? So again, we are a social enterprise, okay? There could be a coffee manufacturer out there, okay? Their set of values are, we're going to be sustainable, okay? We're going to use sustainable coffee beans, fair trade coffee beans as well. Again, you need to let your clients and customers know about that. They buy into it. That could make the difference between picking up your bag of coffee compared to another bag of coffee who doesn't show their sort of values, who aren't sort of fair trade, for example, okay? So it's one thing having those great values, you've got to put actions into place, okay, to achieve those values. And that is where sort of business planning comes into it, market research comes into it, resonating with your clients, resonating with your customers as well. And also don't forget to look at your competitors as well. This is what I advise all my clients and customers, okay? Always look into your closest competitors, look into your closest rivals, see how they're doing things, okay? It's all about getting ideas, all about sort of getting inspiration without copying them, okay? You will sort of find your own way there, okay? But it's a good sort of starting point, especially as you sort of do your market research as well. So that is about setting your values.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, and just to it's on the screen, but just to repeat it, is, you know, for me, setting values for your business is not a tick box exercise where you just think I should do this because it's in the business plan. Once you go through that process of understanding what's important to you, make sure that those values underpin every single thing you do, because like the old saying says, people buy from people, but people also like to buy from businesses who share their values and they see some synergy with them. So a really good way to stand out and to help you to guide yourself as you move forward. Thank you, Michael. Top tip 15, accountant or bookkeeper, what's the right way to go?
Okay then. So I like to think that sometimes there is not a right way to go. There is no sort of right or wrong. It all depends on sort of the individual, okay? It all depends on the business sort of setup. But generally, I get asked a question a lot, what's the difference between bookkeepers and accountants? Okay, so generally bookkeepers, they sort of do the day-to-day financials of the business, the books, okay? The accountants, they look at more or less the overall picture. So they look at the end of financial year, they produce year-end accounts, for example, okay? They take those sort of summaries. So the bookkeeper and the accountant work hand in hand with one another, okay? Anybody first setting up a business, okay, not hiring an accountant or a bookkeeper, you will essentially be the bookkeeper. You are responsible for the day-to-day. So I'm talking about invoices, bank statements, receipts, cash book, sort of log books, for example. You would be sort of doing that. So again, to hire a bookkeeper or an accountant, it depends on affordability. Okay, can your business sustain that expense? Some bookkeepers, some accountants can be cheaper, more expensive than others, for example. Some charge differently as well. Some are a bit like lawyers, where every time you speak to them, Okay, they charge you for a phone call, they charge you for a letter. Some don't there. Okay, so make sure you go out, do the research, find that excellent bookkeeper, find that excellent accountant, and don't be afraid to change as well. Okay, I've worked with a number of people. They changed multiple accountants because it just wasn't a good fit for them. Okay, but when it comes to accountancy, if it really isn't your thing, okay, if affordable to your business, to your finances, go out and employ that accountant, that sort of bookkeeper there. So we've got a nice little partnership with Tax Assist as well, Tax Scouts. Please look at our savings page there. So that's accountants and bookkeeping.
Thank you very much. Number 14, have an action plan.
All right then. I like to advise all my clients and customers, always have a plan. Okay, have a plan of action. Plan on how and what you want to achieve there. So I'm not asking you to write a massive business plan. You can do a sort of a mini sort of business plan. Okay, simply because I work with a lot of people, they really can't get their heads around a business plan. Okay, again, just having a simple heading of what you want to achieve. Okay, and listing bullet points. Okay, a small one-liner, sort of two-liners there. Okay, listing what your priorities are, but also listing the actions. Okay, so you could put together a sort of quick sort of marketing plan. Okay, so what are your marketing methods? Leaflets, website, social media, for example. Okay, that would be your headings. Then start bullet pointing. What am I going to be doing under the social media? What I'm going to get set up on Facebook, because my market research has shown that my clients, my customers are on Facebook. Okay, what is your content going to be? How often are you going to update your social media, for example? Same with the website. Okay, same with any other marketing plan or anything to do with your business. So always don't go in sort of blindfolded. Always plan. So this action plan could be for the next sort of 6 months. It could be over the few years. But you also got to factor in that you got to be flexible as well. Okay, you got to know when to sort of change. The economics change in the sort of market. Okay, so you got to be flexible. Know when to change. Know when to stop as well. Okay, so if you put a marketing plan into play, you're printing a whole load of leaflets. You're only getting 1% sort of callback from these leaflets, from these inquiries. You need to mix it up. Okay, you need to adopt another action plan there. Okay, so it's really important to have this action plan. Make sure you can measure success as well. Okay, you want to know what you're doing is correct or not. Okay, and if it's correct, then great. If it's not, again, change, adapt, try something else until you find your happy medium.
Excellent, thank you, Michael. Number 13, cash is king.
Oh, so cash, I love cash. Everybody loves cash, I suppose. Okay, so it's all about finding sort of the right balance, making sure that when we talk about sort of cash as well, we always talk about liquidity, money in the business. I like to think we talk about cash flow as well, ensuring that more money is coming into the business than is going out. Okay, and that is easier said than done, I would say. Okay, there will come a time where money coming into your business would be less than money going out of your business. Okay, if that is the case, that shouldn't be a consistent sort of trend. Okay, some months you have more money coming in, some months you have more sort of going out there. Okay, but making sure you've got sufficient working capital, liquidity in your business. Okay, and this is why a lot of people do cash flow forecasts. Okay, so we do a whole webinar, okay, on cash flow forecast for your small business. Okay, bit different from the profit and loss. Okay, profit and loss account or forecast. You're looking at how much profit, how much loss you're making over a particular period of time. When we're talking about cash flow, we're talking about the timely manner in which money comes in and money comes in and out of your account there. Okay, so it's really important that you monitor your cash position. Okay, making sure that you don't run in to any cash flow issues there. Okay, so my previous time in another lifetime, when I was a sort of underwriter, the first thing that we were looking at on the cash flow is, do you have negative cash flow? Okay, if you did, that was a big sort of no-no for us. Okay, that shows us that you will run into cash flow issues. Okay, If you find that, you need to find ways to address those cash flow issues there. Okay, overdraft, getting a loan, borrowing for more money, putting more money into the business where needed. But cash is very key to your business: sales, expenses, and money coming in.
Excellent. And I think there's two other things I would just kind of add to that, really. One, I think if you're selling a product on your website or selling a product via a third party, then yeah, cash flow is still important, but you can manage your money because you're actually getting money into your bank account before you're sending off a product to the customer. I think where it becomes a kind of a real key issue is if you're providing a service. So if you're providing a service to someone where you're not going to get paid until that service has been delivered, that's when the problems can come, because you may have to spend 5-6 weeks delivering that service until that customer is going to pay you the money. So that's when you really need to think about that gap between what you're spending and what's coming in. And I think just one other thing to add to that, if you are a business who is going to be selling B2B, so business to business, and you are selling to bigger companies than yourself, then please be aware in terms of how there may be issues with when they pay their invoices, and they may delay the payment of their invoices. And I've seen so many companies getting problems with their cash flow where they're expecting payment from a big company, and because that big company are important to them, they don't find it easy to chase them, to threaten them to pay their money on time. So you should just be aware of that if you're in that situation where you're dealing B2B, or certainly dealing with bigger companies than yourself who may be reluctant to pay you on time, and often there's not a great deal you can do about it. So thank you, Michael. And then the last one for you is number 12, plan your money.
Yeah. So just to build on what Matt said about that as well. So that comes in to cash flow forecasting, which we cover in our sort of webinar. But planning your money. Okay, it's great to have money. Okay, if you've got it, but you've got to know when to invest it, know when to invest in it. Okay. To grow your business, to move your business forward as well. Because there's no point sitting on a big pile of money, big pile of cash, if you're not looking to sort of spend it. Okay, plan for it, making sure that that pot of money can pay off your expenses, your taxes there. If you are lucky enough to have anything sort of left over, okay, look to reinvest it. Okay. Reinvesting could simply be, for example, if I was a marketing consultant, okay, or not a graphic designer, okay, I'm going to invest in a brand new Apple Mac, for example. I'm going to spend £2,500, £3,000 on this new sort of laptop, okay, or this new desktop. That will allow me to run more powerful software. That will allow me to produce a higher quality sort of product, okay. My clients and customers don't need to wait so long. If I'm sort of rendering, that can take sort of hours and hours and sort of on end. I can produce that service without compromising on quality, okay, and provide that product to my clients in a more time efficient sort of manner there. I can charge a bit more for my products, for my services within reason, okay, as long as I don't put off any of my clients, any of my customers there, okay. So knowing when to spend it, okay, and plan as well, okay. That's where cash flow forecasting can come into play as well. In 6 months' time, I'm estimating I'll have X amount of money around then, okay, hopefully, and I can then spend that money there, okay. And where possible, spend it within the sort of the financial tax year. You can get a lot of benefits, a lot of allowances. For example, there are tax efficiencies. Anybody lucky enough to have an accountant, to have a bookkeeper, you can discuss it with them, okay, but we can provide you sort of general guidance on that as well. So I believe that's me done, Matt.
That's you done, Michael. That's you can have the rest of the day off now. Well done, sir.
Right, cheers. Thank you. I'm off now. Thanks.
Okay, we're getting to closing areas, and our next presenter to talk about tip 11 onwards is Mick. So Mick has 25 years marketing and operations management in sales and manufacturing, including Electrolux, 3M, British Leyland, and also small company experience in engineering and manufacturing. So his real expertise and focus is small company startup, business planning, and growth. So I'll hand you a nice complex one for you to start off with, Mick. Number 11, have a shareholder agreement.
Right, thank you, Matt. And I'm gonna go with your original theme with your delightful putting tracks to things, because this is Walking in Memphis. I'm not going to play it, but it's Walking in Memphis by, yes, you guess it, Share. So the shareholder agreement, the word stick with it, it gets worse. The shareholder agreement is not very well named, because if you are forming a limited company, as distinct from a partnership, which is probably the first low level of entity that isn't a human being, a sole trader. If you're forming a limited company, a shareholder agreement is really only there if agreement ceases. You need something in place if you think there's even the faintest possibility of something going wrong between you and the other directors. If it's a single person company, no sweat. But if you're forming something where you share the business with others, please have a shareholder agreement, even if it's just something written down between the two of you and witnessed by a reputable adult. Have a look online. There's shareholder agreement templates online. There's Law Depot, Simply Docs. I think there are lots of sites where you can, for a very small fee, sometimes for free, download an agreement. It won't be specific to you. If you want a proper shareholder agreement, you've got to talk to a lawyer, which sometimes means good morning, 50 quid. I would need a shareholder agreement, 150 quid, and like that. But it will stand up in court if it ever has to. You download a template, you're running the risk that standard template may not actually have the requisite weight to stand up in court should you ever get to legals with your other directors. So shareholder agreements only really kick in. They have, as do partnership agreements, which is a very similar thing. They have a primary function which tends to inhibit the risk of you getting into grief, because you know there is a fallback, you know there is a structure there which will sort it out if you get into serious grief. It tends to make you talk about it before you get legal, whereas the absence of any agreements can lead to disputes, particularly between brothers, between family members, which is massively corrosive to the company and finishes up with nobody getting rich except a lawyer. So please have a shareholder agreement or a partnership agreement, same sort of deal. Discuss it with one of us. We are far from experts. We are generalists, but we'll talk it through with you and try and help if we can. So yeah, shareholder agreements, it's a really good idea.
And I think it's more, thanks, Mick, it's more common than what you would think. I've got 3 cases at the moment on my books of people who went into business with someone they know well, family member, went in 50-50. You don't think about all that falling apart when you go into a business. It's exciting. Trying to resolve that situation without a shareholder agreement in place is an absolute nightmare. In fact, you actually can't resolve it. So it just leaves a massive impasse. So thank you, Mick. Top tip number 10, one of my favorite subjects, race to the bottom with discounting.
Yeah, it's the tracks for this one are either Race with the Devil by The Gun, which is fairly odd, or Road to Hell, a Chris Rea track, which mirrors discounting. Discounting, not a good plan. Needs to be very, very carefully considered. There's a serious disparity between the words value and the word cheap. And you've got to watch that one for a start, because the world is about perception. As we know, it's more about fast reaction to perception and perception being spun out to others than ever it was because of the social media platforms. So the perception of you cutting your prices, particularly in these straitened times when the economy appears to be bizarre, to say the least, it can be worrying, because other people can see that as a signal that you're in trouble and you're cutting your prices to try and save yourself. That's a danger. So the marketing around a discounting package that you put together needs to be carefully handled. You need to present it as a positive move, as a marketing issue, certainly not a salvation issue. Just to give it, it's difficult to do this without a flip chart. But just to give an example of a discounting issue, people don't realize how poisonous discounting can be. So if you're selling, I'll try and do it verbally. Bear with me, this might not work. So you're selling stuff for 10 quid. You're selling things for £10 product. It costs you £6 to make. You sell 100 of them. So that's your business. You're selling things for £10. They cost you £6. You're making £400. You think, I'll have a bit of a push. I'll have a bit of a discount. Let's see if we can get some prices, get some competition going. I'll try and grow my market a bit. 10% cut. A 10% price cut in that environment means your costs stay the same. That's what people forget. They think the whole lot drops 10%. Your costs stay where they were. What drops is the profit you're making. So you're now selling things for £9, not £10. They still cost you £6. You've got to increase your sales by 33% to get back to where you were before you had a pop at discounting. If you honestly think you're going to have a 33% sales increase, crack on. But it's a shaky business. So the message there is, please look at your costs. Please look at the impact it's going to have on your bottom line, any discounting process you have, and also your feel for it as a marketing gambit. Is it going to generate anything more than vague interest? Is it going to generate sales? Because if it generates nothing, you've spent money on a marketing push that didn't do what you wanted and could possibly have harmed your perception of your business in the eyes of your customers and others out there. But mainly beware of value against cheap. It's a tricky business, discounting. I don't know if you agree with that one, Matt, but I'm wary of it.
100%. I see so many examples. I mean, I've worked for a couple of brands in the past, Voyage, Prevail, lastminute.com, which built their business on discounts. Most of it wasn't true. It was a smoke and mirrors type exercise in terms of what someone's paying. But, you know, some companies can go out and do that. I think for me, it's also about the devaluing of the product and devaluing the offering as well, Mick. You know, I lose count of the amount of websites that I'm asked to look at. I'm on the website. Within 2 seconds, I'm getting a box pop up. I've not even looked at anything that says, give us your email address and get 10% off. Straight away, my expectations about what I'm going to pay for that product, then I think, well, if they're going to give me a 10% discount in 3 seconds, if I maybe speak to them or wait a couple of minutes, am I going to get something else? Am I going to get something else? And once you've put your product or your service down at that level by discounting, incredibly difficult to get that back up. Incredibly difficult to get that back up. So yeah, dangerous game. Not saying you can't discount, but think carefully about it. And your example, Mick, I think was a very good one in terms of what upturn you need to increase profit if you start discounting on a regular basis. Number 9, write a business plan. This is where we get boring again, Mick. Write a plan, but it's so important.
Yeah, it is. This echoes, I think, one of your Fab 4 on tip 37. You've got to write a business plan, and the tracks for this one, 2 tracks for this one. Making plans for Nigel XTC, which is a nice one. My personal favorite, Another Girl, Another Planet, by The Only Ones, one of the greatest singles ever released. So business plan, get the foundations right. It's a must. It's an absolute must, even if you're doing it for yourself. And I say even if you're doing it for yourself, but if you're writing a business plan for somebody else, you're writing it for some joker in a band, with apologies to Leandro in his earlier existence. Whoever you're writing it for, it's not as important as you. So if you're writing a business plan for a business you're launching yourself using your own savings, please give it some serious attention, particularly market research and cash flow. If you don't do anything else, do some market research and cash flow, because the purpose of a business plan, the underlying purpose of a business plan, is utterly not to tell you how your business is going to work. It's to tell you if it's going to work. And people miss that. They think, I'm going to start a business. I'll write a business plan. No. I think I might start a business. I'll write a business plan and see if the whole thing's feasible. That's quite a nice standpoint to begin from. And I, like the rest of the team, have seen an awful lot of people starting to write a business plan and go, this the cash flow says this isn't going to work. I'll increase my sales. Okie doke. If you don't believe that, then you shouldn't have written it in the first place. It's just so writing a business plan is absolutely key. It'll formulate your thinking. It'll get you thinking in straight lines. It will almost certainly drag things out of the background that you'd forgotten about. Little things, the cost of printer ink, how much it's going to cost to get from place to place when you're trying to promote stuff and meet people. All the bits and pieces around a startup, get them in your cash flow, get them in your market research. And if you're writing it for somebody else, think hard. If you're writing it for somebody else, and this spins into the grants one, which we roll into quite shortly, think who you're writing it for and what their agenda is. Because the business plan isn't about something for you to like. It's about something for other people to understand and get the value of your commitment to what you're trying to do. So they will either back you, give you the loan you're after, help you with the grant process, whatever it is. But yeah, please write a business plan to get things organized in your head, and so you can present them to other people in a clear manner.
Yeah. Number 8, Mick, would you like some free money?
Yeah, would you like some free money? This one's Money by the Beatles. Grants at the moment fairly scarce. There's not many about. There are a few in the social sector, in the third sector as well, social enterprises. There's local councils frequently have grant money available in small terms, like hundreds, possibly the odd thousand. But you tend to have to be a CIC or a community-based organisation to get them. keep an eye on your local authority websites. There is the Shared Prosperity Fund is starting to raise its head. What will happen with that long term? Nobody quite knows at the moment. Short term, there are some councils that are starting to put initiatives together. There is some money being spent across some of the London boroughs are now spending money. If you are applying for a grant, again, echoing the business plan things, who are you writing it for? Who is it? What do they want? Doesn't matter what you want and how lovely you are at doing what you do. It's got to be written in terms that they'll understand, in terms of what you're going to deliver for them. It's the old sales thing: features, advantages, benefits. Nobody buys anything because of what it is. They only buy things because of what they do for them or how they make them feel. That's why people buy stuff. And that applies to grant giving bodies and your application to them. They only want to know how you will deliver what they need for their money, because they're looking for outputs. They're looking for people, distance traveled between where they were and where they are, in terms of their value to the community, in terms of their value to themselves. Grant giving at the moment tends to be around that sort of thing. For small business grants, you've got to prove sustainability big time. Quick shout out to the carbon net zero, carbon neutrality, carbon footprint, all of that. You must be on that. Look at our website, link coming shortly, I'm sure. But free money isn't free, except you've got to, it isn't free in terms that you've got to apply yourself in a considerable way to get hold of it. Business plans are must, application forms are must, but understand what they're trying to do with the money and write it so that they will get what you do, because that's the only way you'll be approved.
Super, great advice, Mick. Last one for you, buddy. Number 7, learn from others.
Yeah, learn from others. This is Schools Out by Alice Cooper. Learn from others. This is what we're all about. Wenta is, anybody remember Alice Cooper? Probably not. Oh, he's still recording. Anyway, Wenta is all about learning from others, because we try and be there for you. I think Leandro mentioned mentors, try and find a mentor. Between us, we've got some fairly varied experience. Most of us have at some point run, managed or owned a small business and worked for other bits and pieces of bigger businesses as well. I'm a great believer in, if you've never played, you shouldn't coach. So you should be talking to somebody who at least empathizes with what you're trying to do if you're a startup or a growth business. Certainly the sounding board effect of a relatively well-informed, hopefully, stranger who's interested in you and what you're doing, the sounding board effect is considerable. We regularly get people coming in, back in the day when people came in pre-lockdown, they'd come in and have a cup of coffee and spend an hour talking about what they've been doing for the last 6 months, just to clarify their thinking. So learning from others in that way is useful, by just, using us or people like us as a sounding board. Learning from others on the social media side of things. What are they doing? When do they post? I mean, this is a marketing thing, I know, but what are they doing? When do they post? What sort of content do they post? Which platforms do they post on? Time of day, day of the week. Look at your competitors, the ones who you think are doing it right or appear to be successful. Learn from others in the field that you're in, and find someone to talk to who can bounce your ideas off. Because all of those things, but it's an old adage: keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Learn from your competitors, because if they're still out there doing it, they're doing something right, and you could possibly learn something from them. So fairly terse there, Matt, but I'm conscious of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mick. Well done. Okay, we got 6 left and they're back to me. So I started and I will finish. As Mick said, I'm conscious of time as well, because I'm sure you've got other places to be. So I will try and get this all wrapped up by 12 o'clock. I'll try my best anyway. Kind of leads on really to the next point. Top tip number 6, goldfish. So for those of you that remember it, people say that person's got an attention span of a goldfish, i.e. they don't focus on things very often. Well, actually, it must be true, these figures, because Google says it was, yeah. The average attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds, but they reckon now, they're experts, that the average attention span of a person is actually 8.5 seconds. So we're worse than a goldfish. Whether that's the advent of technology, whether that's the advent of social media, where we're getting tens and tens of thousands of messages at times in front of us every day. So if we flip that, yeah, and look at our customers and think our customers are those people that are getting tens of thousands of messages in front of them all the time, we need to think of them as being worse than a goldfish. So if we're going to say something, if we're going to do something, yeah, then we need to make sure we're getting to the point quickly, especially on social media. Yeah, so it's not about showing videos that are 10 minutes long. It's not about putting long adverts in there that have loads of content. What we've got to do, which kind of lines up with some of the other tips, we've got to truly understand who our customers are. We've got to truly understand our tone of voice that Carol went through, and actually put messages in front of these people that get attention. And that's the job of marketing, to get someone's attention, to get them to do something. And once they've done that thing, marketing is then over, and then it gets into the wonderful world of sales, which is similar in terms of the skill set you need, but different in terms of the process that you need to go. So just think about people's attention span and how you must get to the point, especially when you're executing your marketing and your marketing plan. Number 5, is it too good to be true? God, if I had a pound for every time that I work with someone with Wenta where they say they've got themselves in trouble because they've either hired a company to do something for them. The particular favorite seems to be a website, yeah, where a company will come along and say, I can build you a brand new website for £100. Guess what happens? They build you a website for £100, but you're not happy with it. And then every time you go back to them and want to change something, yeah, and add something on, all of a sudden, if you think if someone building me a 5-page website for £100, if you want to add a new page, maths is not my strong point, but your expectation again would be that that extra page is going to cost me £20. What you'll find is someone will come back to you and say, to add an extra page, that's an extra £200 or £300. So just be mindful, especially with sites like Fiverr, although I've never seen anything on the website Fiverr, which costs a £5. Yeah, that for me is littered. I hope they're not watching, or they'll be suing me. Is littered with companies that are dangling something in front of you to say, I can do this better, I can do this cheaper than the rest. And the reality is you need to look at it and go, if it's too good to be true, it generally is. So think about what you're getting into and try and get into a situation where you see things coming or you avoid it completely. When you start your own business, you're in a bit of a situation where you're kind of a bit open to these people. You're open to people selling to you because you're busy, you might be stressed, you might be excited about what you're going to do. So just be mindful. And I think that links into what Leandro said about having a mentor, having someone that you can actually just put something in front of and go, does this look too good to be true? If they're not emotionally invested, they'll often show you the right way and avoid you getting in a situation where you're tied in with the wrong company and losing money. Top tip number 4, the marketing tap. This, I'm going to explain it, but it's not going to work properly, because when I came up with this, I was thinking about in the old days. I was going to say, Mick, you might remember this, but that's probably slightly offensive. But you used to have taps outside in your garden that you used to turn on, and it used to take a while for the water to come out. Yeah. And then after maybe a couple of seconds, it would then start rushing out. Yeah. But every time you did it, there was a delay in it. This is what I mean by the marketing tap. And this is linked to stop and start marketing. You launch your business, you haven't got any customers, you go hell for leather and start marketing loads and loads of times to loads of people. And then what you do is you become busy, so you stop marketing because you're spending all your time servicing your clients or packaging their deliveries, sending out their products. So what you do with the tap is you put it full tilt, yeah, and then you turn the tap off. And then you get to 2 weeks down the line, and all of those customers you had before have either been serviced or have disappeared. And then you sit there and go, I need to start marketing again. And it's the old tap in terms of when you're turning it on again, it takes a while for it to come through. So you start doing some marketing and you're sitting there and thinking to myself, why isn't this working? Why isn't this generating me new customers? Yeah, the reality is it's probably going to take 2-3 weeks for those adverts to start working, for customers to contact you, get back in place. So you end up with this feast and famine situation, yeah, where you're having January is a great month, nothing in February. March is a great month, nothing in April. And it can be one of the most frustrating periods as a business owner when you're thinking, how do I smooth out that curve? The way to do it for me is to always keep that tap running. Yeah, you don't necessarily need to have it on full pelt, but if you just turn it down a little bit rather than turning it off, that will allow you to have a consistent stream of customers, yeah, and you won't have this feast and famine type operation. Did I get away with that, Mick, with the tap? Please back me up that used to happen. Hopefully everyone else can kind of understand the analogy there. Tip number 3, the 80-20 rule, otherwise known sometimes as the Pareto analysis. I don't know whether anyone's ever heard of this, but once you start trading, yeah, then you will often, it's spooky how often this happens. All the businesses I've worked in, and there've been many, where actually when you look at your sales and you look at your product, yeah, you do the calculation in terms of what percentage of my products drive the percentage of my sales. And what you will generally find in every case, it's been very close, is that you will have 20% of your products driving 80% of your sales, the 80-20 rule. Yeah. Also, you can use the 80-20 rule in terms of how you manage your time. Yeah. And that 20% of your time will deliver you 80% of your productivity. It's on here because you may not be in this situation yet because you're not trading. Yeah. But you need to understand once you start trading and start selling where your revenue is coming from. The next question I always get when I talk about this is people going, well, that's simple. If I've got 20% of my product, say I've got 100 products and I've got 20 of them delivering 80% of my revenue, why don't I just stop selling the other 80? If only it was that simple. Think about it in this way. If you go on a Saturday afternoon, I know, you know, people like Leandro loves going shopping with his girlfriend on the Saturday afternoon, don't you, Leandro? Yeah, and he goes past the shop and he's looking in a shop window, and there's something in that shop window that attracts Leandro to go into that shop. How many times do you think Leandro buys what's in the window when he goes into the shop? Probably very few. Yeah, because something has brought us into that shop, the window display. We go in there, we might have a look at it, go, that's not for me. But while we're in there, yeah, what do? We buy something else. So if you looked at that 100 products and thought 20 of them are delivering 80% of the revenue, if you then said get rid of the rest, you're probably damaging part of your window display, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I'm not saying you should do all of them, but you know, some of them are going to be the products that are going to drive interest to your customers versus the ones that are going to sell. Hopefully that's clear for when you start trading. Number 2, top tip number 2, we have a webinar on this. If anyone could put this link in there, it's one of mine as well, which will probably put you off now, but about checking your pricing. Yeah, it links into discounting. Yeah, it links into who you're up against in terms of your competitor and what you can get away with. But there's 2 points I want to make on this check your pricing. The first one is when you are offering services based on an hourly rate. Do your hourly rate calculation correctly. Because what you will have, if you are fortunate enough to run your own business and you are fortunate enough to only be working 40 hours a week, yeah, wake up call, probably not going to happen. Yeah. When you often do your calculation on your hourly rate, you take the full entirety of the 40 hours and use that to base the calculation on what your hourly rate is. You look at it, I won't go through the maths now, but you say, I want to turn over £30,000 a year, £30,000 a year. You then look at, I've got 40 hours a week. You do the calculation and it then gives you a figure that says, this is my hourly rate. Walk into this again with your eyes wide open, ladies and gentlemen. If you are working 40 hours a week selling a service, if you are having out of those 40 hours, 20 of those that are billable, i.e. you're getting paid to work for that hour, you will probably be doing very, very well. So when you do your calculation, make sure that you are basing your calculation on the 20 hours where you will be billing to that customer. Yeah, rather than the 40 hours, the 50 hours, or the 30 hours that you're going to be spending, because the rest of that time is going to be doing your marketing, changing the toner on the printer, doing something else, answering emails, whatever it may be. So just think about that, yeah, as a key factor to make sure how many billable hours am I going to be getting. The last point on this one as well is something called imposter syndrome. Anyone heard of imposter syndrome before? I think sometimes it's a bit of a strong word for what this issue is, but I would say probably 50–60% of the people I work with are suffering in terms of some grade of imposter syndrome. What that means is you start to doubt your ability. You start to doubt whether you are worthy of running a business. You start to doubt whether you are worth the money that someone is paying to you. So when we get into the situation where we have imposter syndrome, guess what we do to our prices? Yes, we start discounting, we start putting our prices lower than what they should be because we don't feel comfortable attaching that price to our own value. Yeah, I think in so many cases of new businesses, you could probably increase your prices by 20% and see no material difference in terms of your sales because you've gone too low at the start, and that may be connected to imposter syndrome or you just not having the confidence. Yet again, it's a great opportunity for you to go and get a mentor, speak to someone else, and actually look at that to see whether they believe that what they're paying is going to be right for your business. Last one, I'm running 1 minute over. I'm running a time management course tomorrow morning. I was going to invite you to attend it, but now I'm running over. I'm not going to because I've not sold it very well. Last one, top tip number 1, eat the frog. Maybe you've heard of this before. This was a comment attributed to Mark Twain, and he said, if it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first. What this means, and this links into my webinar tomorrow morning on time management. Yeah, if you've got something important to do, do it first. Cut out the distractions, focus on that one task, and really think about the impact that's going to have. Don't do what I've done in the past where you're pushing around some of those menial tasks that you know are important, but they don't excite you, yeah? Or you're not sure what to do, and what you end up doing is getting attracted by the shiny thing in the corner of the room, and then you carry on all day, and then all of a sudden you leave it to the last minute. If there is something important to do for your business, do it first. Yeah, that may be if you are a morning person like me, or it may be if you are a person that comes alive at 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. I'm tucked up in bed by then. Yeah, understand yourself, understand when this is at full capacity, and do the important things at that time. Yeah, so eat the frog is the last tip. Okay, the next slide is just a summary in terms of that. So I want to say, thank you for joining us today. Thank you to my co-presenters who have given their insight. If you want to make contact with us, I'm sure there are about 37,000 links on the chat now that people have been putting on there. Hopefully you found this useful. What I'm just going to do before you disappear is that I'm just going to put a poll up, which will just give you the opportunity to go through and maybe just click on some of the areas that you found most important. So all of the 40 tips are there, which you can scroll down. Can you just confirm you can see that for us, Mick? Excellent. So for that, excellent. So if you're joining us now, then please just give us a bit of feedback. Click on the ones that you think are the most important. That helps us to shape our services as we go forward. And I will leave that up there for the next couple of minutes. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. If you have any comments, then please let us have them on the chat. Otherwise, once you've completed the poll, you are free to go. If we don't come in contact with you again, good luck with your businesses. Hopefully, we will see all of you soon and be giving you some advice to help you move forward. Thank you very much.